Okay, and welcome to the first episode of Behind the Lines, the show where we get into it with line writer creators on subjects such as where do they think line writer is going, what does line writer mean to them, their approach to making tracks, or whatever else we happen to get into along the way. So, without ado, welcome back, Andrew.
Thank you.
Awesome to have you on again. And I guess the first question I would ask you is, how did you find Lime Rider?
Well, I remember just like trying it out back in like 2007 or whenever it started, and thinking like, well, it seemed like a lot of work if you wanted to like make a really good track, because there were far fewer capabilities then than we have now. So I like tried a little bit and like threw a slope, and then that was kind of it until like a year ago. um, I had been watching like a lot of other people line writer videos, and I always enjoyed watching that. But I guess it was when This Will Destroy You came out that I like really started to get interested in it.
Yeah, that was
Um,
definitely a pivotal track for a lot of people,
yeah,
me
right.
included. Yeah.
hmm And I'd have like a lot of other experience with like other arts media. Like I write and arrange music and um, like perform musical instruments and stuff. But this, I guess, was one art form where like I was interested in like consuming it, but never actually like created any of my own. Um, and then I guess there reached a point where I thought, well, I actually do want to like make line writer stuff and like see what I can do. Um, so it was I actually know Rabbit Squirrel like Ben because we went to college together
Oh, okay.
and both live in Minnesota currently. So I went to like a live screening of This Will Destroy You, and then we talked about like the best way for me to like get an introduction, I guess, to line writer, like what sort of build to start out on. Um, and then it was like January of this year where I actually started like creating my own tracks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, you definitely had a really good start, I would say. Like, oh yeah, I was gonna ask you. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see some of tracks like "This Will Destroy You" have
hmm
really like positively influenced your tracks. Because
hmm
I noticed from the beginning. Why am I so out of breath? Goddamn heavy suitcases. Um, yeah, your tracks are really quite subtle and quite emotive, like
hmm
right from the get go.
hmm
Like, what was your first track called again?
The first track was Pathfinder.
Yeah, yeah, and you really had some creative flair that was kind of different from other stuff that I've seen before. That kind of
hmm
brought me to your tracks. So, would you say being you said you're a music student, right?
Well, I didn't major in music, but I am really involved, like performing and composing.
Yeah, so being heavily involved in music and that scene, do you think that kind of helps you with how when you approach your tracks,
Yeah,
having like an ear for music?
hmm and
Awesome.
that's definitely like probably why I enjoyed Rabbit stuff so much because it's so like perfectly synced.
Yeah,
Um, and that was kind of like what I was trying to do with mine too.
awesome. So when you approach a track, what is it just the song that draws you in, or do you have like a specific theme that you find a song to fit, or
I guess it's usually the song first. There are like there would be songs that I really enjoy, um, and like in the past, I would if there was a song I really enjoyed, I would like transcribe it or try to arrange it for piano or something like that. But then with Line Rider, there's this whole new way of like experiencing a song you enjoy in a different way, or like making a track to visualize it. So I think in every case, it started with a piece of music that I enjoyed, and I thought I can probably make a track out of this. Um, some of those there were larger themes that I thought maybe I can try to explore through this song, but it's usually like the song first, and then if there's a theme that would come second.
yeah, awesome. I think that's quite similar to probably what a lot of creators would say. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of times for me the hook into making a track is just a song. I thought, and then because like once you play Line Rider too much, all you can see when you hear a song is Bosch doing something. It
Yeah.
gets a little
Right.
it gets a little much.
Mhm.
So we've talked about how you got into Line Rider and how you
Mhm.
tend to approach a track. Would you say you have any? How do you approach what techniques you use? Is that just modulated by music or?
Um, yeah, I think most of the decisions I make are based on the music. Um, like with my third track, Cascade, there's a lot of like electronic stuff that sounded like it was kind of just like randomly placed, like just kind of electronic chaos. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do like a quirk track, that's the one I'll try to do it for, because I thought the quirk would fix or fit the music. It didn't really end up being a quirk track, but that was the intent I had when I started it. Um, then there are other tracks with like the really slow builds and the where the music is just like a drone, like in Release Me. And I thought, well, I'm definitely going to start out on like a flat line for a while.
Yeah, because I guess you have to. I guess in a way, like if you're gonna go from, like 1 to a 10, you can't start at a 9. You got to start from the
Hmm.
bottom if you want to get
Right, right.
that impact. So would you say you have any kind of philosophy, if we can use that term, or any kind of general I don't know, like code you stick to when you make a line rider a track, or do you just hear the music and you just go for it?
um, probably it's more I hear the music and I go with it. I guess if I had a philosophy, um, I guess it'd be to prioritize like the art over the technique. Like I wasn't any good at like quirk or manuals when I first started, and I'm probably still not very good compared to most people at those things still. Um, but I thought I can still make something that's like that I enjoy watching. At least I can like bring art out of it even without the experience that everybody else seems to have.
For sure. So
Mhm.
are your goals to when you make a track, because I've talked to various people and people seem to have different goals for what they want their track to
Mhm.
achieve. Do you set out with just the sole um, intent just to kind of please yourself, or are you trying to definitely bring it to a wider audience, or what would you say?
I guess primarily or originally the first goal was to just make tracks that I enjoy watching, and it's the same with like music that I compose. I just write stuff I want to listen to. Um, but then when I get feedback from people, and like positive feedback does mean a lot to me, although I have a hard time writing positive feedback for other people. Sometimes I just can't think of stuff to say. But I appreciate hearing from my audience. So I'm sure that's added to my priorities. It's like I want to make something that people will enjoy watching in addition to like myself.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And do you have any feelings on the state of tracks in general? Is there like any trends you would hope that continue or emerge, or?
Um, well, I guess not in particular. I mean, I've noticed some things that like I feel like I see them all the time, and kind of hope they like don't continue at this frequency. Not to call anybody out, but for what I hope for like the future, like new additions to what the scene, or I'm uh, not really sure. I guess there's nothing in particular I have in mind.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I just love seeing new stuff. I mean, the problem with,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, tracks can get repetitive if they use the same motifs over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
or the same technique, etc., etc. Familiarity breeds contempt, no matter what it is. And
Uh-huh.
one of the things I really like about these tracks that guys like you or Rabid or OTDE or innumerable others. We got some new guys now like
Mm-hmm.
Gavin Rue, Arglim.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
guys, they bring these tracks and they're kind of all go about it in the same way. Like the music kind of dictates, and you get these really unique and kind of creative outcomes from it, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is putting Line Rider in a good place. I mean, there is, I would say, like in my opinion, the potential for even stuff like music interpretation to become,
Mhm.
I don't know, gamified in a way, because you can become like overly reliant on music if you're not
Yeah.
careful, which is something
Hmm.
I think I've probably done in a few tracks.
Hmm.
But yeah, in general, I tend to agree with you. Really, I, I mean, you don't want too much of the same thing, and you just
Uh-huh.
hope that new creativity emerges and succeeds.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So, let me think. Do I have any other questions? I think we've. So, if you had a message for any new track makers who are just joining, getting into Line Rider, what would you tell them?
I guess what I would say is to not feel limited by your abilities. I feel like I've learned a lot and improved a lot since I started playing Line Rider, which was only like 8 months ago. So I think if you have ideas that you want to like share with the world, like don't feel limited by being new at it. Um, like just try it out, and you'll learn as you do it. Like everybody has something worth sharing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I would equally get behind that message. I've been playing for just over a year now, and don't feel intimidated or limited. Yes, there are people who've been messing with Line Rider for over a decade, but everyone has something unique and interesting and worthwhile that they should share if they feel that
Hmm.
it's worth doing so. So yeah, don't feel afraid.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's probably the limit of my questions, unless you have anything else you'd like to say.
No, I guess not.
Okay, awesome. Well, with that, that concludes the first episode of Behind the Lines. Thanks for tuning in. If you have anything you want to say, be sure to leave a comment down below. Tell me how I can improve, etc. Give me a dislike or a like, whatever. And yeah, thanks. Tune in next time. Thanks for watching.